Celeste says, what if you do all the things you are talking about, going to church, taking care of yourself, etc., but still have intrusive thoughts? Well, I think intrusive thoughts are common for some people and not common for other people. This is what I mean. I know folks who have a degree of anxiety, a degree of something like OCD, and that's a form of intrusive thoughts. That is a chronic condition that is not just something that can magically be lifted, even though with time, yes, I think all of fitness and going outside and all this can help. So I think in these aspects, Celeste, we have to take inventory and say, is what I'm dealing with something that's chronic, that perhaps is similar to that thorn in the flesh that Paul talks about? Or is it something that is environmental, that needs to be adjusted, right? And I think this is unique for many of us, right? And so as we're discovering more about mental health, as we're discovering more about these things, we got to know the difference. And so I would recommend, if you're dealing with like constant intrusive thoughts, one, Paul said he prayed about it 3 times, right? And I'm just using that as a shorthand for that. Paul said, pray about it 3 times. So 1, pray about it. Okay. 2, is this something that is happening in the natural, or is this something that is happening in the spiritual? Sometimes I think it could be happening in the natural, and someone can actually just have an imbalance in their brain, right? And so that may mean seeing a psychologist or a therapist and developing a treatment plan. Now, again, there's a difference in all these. So I'll give you an example. Like when I lost my niece earlier in December, I never really dealt with like intrusive thoughts before. But I, for the first time, was experiencing them. And they were pretty rough. Specifically, I was the one that walked in on my niece and was the one that called 911 when as she was passing and all that sort of stuff. And it was something that was really, really hard to process just from a natural trauma standpoint. And so as I was working through these things, I understood that what I was dealing with was more of a byproduct of trauma that I needed to go to therapy for, and not necessarily a spiritual thing per se. And slowly, as I got back into a routine and went to therapy and all the things I normally do, took care of my body, slept well, all those sorts of things. As I did those things, slowly the intrusive thoughts were lifted. They went away. And now it's not as bad. I can go to sleep without thinking about it, and that is all I'm replaying in my brain. But that took some time. This was on the byproduct of experiencing something traumatic. There are people who have not experienced anything traumatic, and also who are, it's not a spiritual attack. They've went up to get prayer. They've asked for deliverance. They've done all the things, right? They've done all the things, and the intrusive thoughts persist. Those people, I think, need to go and seek professional treatment and see if there's something happening within their brain. Is it a form of OCD? Is it something that is not a spiritual thing? It's not a physical thing. It's an actual thing happening in their mind that requires treatment. And I think we need to destigmatize this, because there's so many extremes we can go to. One extreme is everything's a demon. Everything's not a demon. Everything's not even. Even my friends who are like the forerunners of the deliverance ministry have all came on my channel and have multiple times, whether it's Pagani, whether it's Mike Signorelli, have all conceded that like mental health is real, and we need to allow space for people to get mental health treatment, right? And they've all evolved on this. There are things that are not in the spiritual realm. They're not demonic. They might affect your spiritual state, but everything is not a demon. So assuming everything is a demon and then telling somebody you just need to go up and get more deliverance, you just need to go up to the altar and get more deliverance, is cruel. It is cruel to tell people that they need to keep going up. And if you got intrusive thoughts, or if you got crippling anxiety, or if you got crippling depression, you just need to go up and get more and more deliverance. And it's like, yeah, people do that and nothing changes. And sometimes they need to go to therapy. Sometimes they may need to go see a psychologist. Sometimes, it's going to be a shocker for some of you guys, they may even need to try a medication, right? That if we're looking at these things from a holistic standpoint, that God is the God of all things, of all disciplines, sometimes that might be a thing that people need, maybe for a season. Here's a real practical example. Again, postpartum depression. There are women that deal with postpartum depression, and it's crippling. It is crippling. And sometimes they need to go on a season of Lexapro, where they'll take it 6 months, 8 months after having a baby, and then they cycle off of it. And that's okay, right? Now, again, the extreme is, well, just run straight to the medication and get pills prescribed. That's not it either. We got to be delicate with these things. We got to use wisdom. We got to seek counsel. And so I don't think it's either or. I think we have to be wise. And so, Celeste, if you're in a season where you've done all the things, you're exercising, you're sleeping better, you're eating right, you're doing, and I know you a bit, Celeste, just through here. Hopefully we'll see you at the next Blessed God Summit. I know you've been taking care of yourself. I know you've had a massive physical transformation. And if you're doing all the things and there's still these intrusive thoughts that are overwhelming, perhaps seek out a professional treatment for that and see what's going on. Take some tests, right? As we're finding out that there are people that are living with things that, 50 years ago they lived with, and they just kind of threw you in a loony bin and said you were crazy. And now we're finding out that these are actual neurochemical brain things that can be treated in various different ways, right? In various different ways. And so to dismiss everything as a demon, I think is cruel, right? I think it's so cruel. And we forget that people, if you've never seen someone have an anxiety attack or a panic attack, and you've never seen what that does to their body, and then you just assume they just need more deliverance and more prayer, and they've done the prayer, they've done the deliverance, they've done all the things, that's a brutal place for somebody to be in. And so I think as Christians, we need to destigmatize therapy. We need to destigmatize mental health. We need to destigmatize these things. And so what I'm saying is, hey, as we've done all these things, taking care of yourself in the physical, you're getting sunlight, you're exercising, you're going to church, you're in community. At some point, yeah, you might need to see if there is something else at play, and perhaps there's a brain issue happening, and that brain issue may need medication for a season or maybe for a while, and that's okay, and I've seen the power of this in friends' lives, and it's liberating, right? And so I really don't like extreme measures of thinking that you have all the answers because you heard about deliverance and therefore it's like, man, people's brains are different. People's brains are different. People have bipolar. Medication for someone that has bipolar is life-giving. It is a life-giving. OCD, right? It's life-giving. And so it's like sometimes people stay stuck in patterns and they really needed mental health treatment. And so to assume that everything is a demon, I think is cruel. It is cruel. So how about you allow people to walk through their processes with their professionals and their pastors and the people that are in their circles that are helping them, and not act like you're an expert on stuff that you don't know anything about. And I'm not even saying like I'm an expert. I'm saying that there's one extreme where people run to medication too soon, right? And there's another extreme where people don't ever consider it. I think both extremes are helpful. Ecclesiastes actually tells us to avoid extremes, believe it or not. And just because you've had a certain degree of deliverance or whatever, just because perhaps for you it was spiritual, that doesn't mean it's like that for everybody. People are different, okay? So anyway, hopefully that's helpful, Celeste. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.